Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. This is Tammy DeLu, the sometimes occasionally grouchy marketing lady, mostly just really mellowed out. And why shouldn't I be? Today, we want to talk about done-for-you webinars, or that's what I do. I do done-for-you webinars for businesses. And I've had a lot of people in the cannabis industry ask me, can these work for the cannabis industry? Do they even still work for any company nowadays? And the answer is absolutely they do. They do if you do them right, and they do if you have a few things in place before you start trying to do this. Now, in the cannabis industry, there have already been, obviously, webinars. People have thought of this. This is nothing new and original on my part. I just see a whole lot of potential for doing things in an inexpensive way that will get you a better return on your investment. And most of us have limited marketing budgets, so that's really, really important. Let me just move this out of the way. First, I'd like to bring up the history of the webinar because I think it's interesting, and I think it's something that you need to have in the back of your mind when you're thinking about how to use this technology, is that this arose out of the nascent social media networks back in the 1980s. When I first started geeking out over computers in the 80s, there was something called IRC, Internet Relay Chat. And there were things called bulletin boards. And some of you may remember those days when you used to get excited to get an email, or when you typed something on a forum and then you waited for the response. It was very exciting. It was really exciting to even watch my first video on the internet, which didn't come to many years later. So the genesis was in IRC. IRC was theoretically linking several computers together so that they were able to chat with one another, and this was groundbreaking. And of course, Microsoft took advantage of that with some products that they developed in the late 1990s, around 1996, 97. We started to see the emergence of software and products that would harness the power of IRC and make it more business friendly. So, of course, the early adopters of these types of technologies were business-oriented companies, companies that catered to corporations and entrepreneurs and people like that. So the first ones that do it, these names you recognize: WebEx. WebEx came on the scene as the preeminent corporate training site where companies could upload their trainings or conduct live trainings for their employees using the WebEx platform. GoToWebinar came on the scene shortly after, around 2004, 2005. GoToWebinar came around. Zoom Webinar, there's a ton of them right now. But the one I continue to use and have used since 2005 is GoToWebinar. I will tell you why I picked that a little bit later over WebEx. There's a lot of reasons, and I think now that things are changing with GoToWebinar, they've been through a couple of ownership changes. I have been vindicated because they've added some really cool services. So this was GoToWebinar. Back in the day, it used to be owned by Citrix. Now it's owned by yet another company called LogMeIn. So the early uses, obviously, business owners and managers and C-levels, they saw webinars as the perfect way to cut their travel expenses. Remember, we had a couple of recessions during that time, and companies were looking for ways to reduce their budgets. So if you're going to have a bored employee goofing off, why send them to Las Vegas to do it, right? That was the theory. The theory was if they're going to be bored with your presentations, they might as well be bored on their laptop or their home computer, sitting around in their pajamas and fuzzy slippers and watching whatever it is you want them to see. Now, there's a lot that can be said about the psychology of a live meeting, right? There are some great things with live meetings. You've all been to live meetings. You know the energy that can be there. It's very hard to translate that energy into an online event. Very, very difficult. But for most purposes, online meetings work, just for training and just product introduction and knowledge and things like that. So like I said, they figured out that, hey, we can use the computer. If employees are going to be falling asleep anyway, why spend $4,000 or $5,000 to send them somewhere to fall asleep? So that was the beginning of the webinar. It was a training exercise until these guys jumped on board. Now, these are your friendly multi-level marketers. And all of us, I think, at one time or another have been involved in one of these deals. And nothing bad to say about anybody. I'm not going to call anybody out. We've all done it. I'm just saying that when network marketing and direct selling figured out that the webinar could be used for product promotion, it started really taking off. You just want, to use the webinar to talk about your MLM opportunity. You could sit there and you could have a captive audience all over the world at one time. Instead of having to have meetings in people's homes, you could actually have a live meeting that was exciting, as exciting as you can make an online meeting. You could have your diagrams up there, and the best part of all, if you figured it out. Now, this wasn't available in the beginning. There was not there was not integrated recording. And what we used to have to do in the very beginning was make a slideshow like this one, and then get the MP3 download from GoToWebinar and put the two together and send it out to people. Well, now with integrated recording, you don't have to do that. You can, so at the same time, you've got a live audience. You can also have people that come after the fact by watching your replay. So there's a lot of potential here if you think about it, right? So where we are today, what are webinars being used for? Well, first and foremost for me, it's content creation, right? We know that videos, whether you're doing text messaging marketing or whatever you're doing, they get opened. If you do it through email, a link to a video gets opened probably 10 times more than a regular link to a book or something, or to an article, right? So if you say, I'm sending you a recording of our recent webinar, you're going to have more success right away with that kind of content. And the content on a webinar, it's basically a recording. Those of us who don't like to be on camera, it's a godsend, right? Because all we have to do is speak as if we're in a live, we're at a live public event. Those of you who hate to speak at public events, but you're pretty good on the phone, webinars are made for you, because now you don't have to be sweating copiously up at the front of a room giving a live presentation. You can put your slides together, you can put your notes together and create a webinar, right? And you'll feel a lot better about it. And it's a great way to position yourself as an authority, right? Because people come to your webinar, you are the authority. So if you're an experienced grower and you want to talk about what you've done with different varieties, it's perfect for that. If you create dispensaries, if you do interiors for dispensaries, if you do marketing for cannabis businesses, whatever it is you do, you're allowed now to create your content. And it's more of when it's live, it's very interactive, and there's ways, even when it's recorded, that you can make it interactive. Lead generation is the reason a lot of people do it now. They have it set up so that you can gather information and gather data about the people who are going to your webinar. And if you have a replay, you can also do that. And GoToWebinar has added some really cool stuff that we'll take a look at maybe a little bit later. You can do it for frequently asked questions. I mean, people go to websites and they may click on the FAQ tab, but how much better would it be if they had little webinars about, how do you use this sprocket? Or, maybe you have an extraction machine and you want to break it down into small parts, how it works for the average person, right? And you want to say, this is what we have here, this is what it does. And people ask questions like, how many gallons does it process every day? Or, how do you clean it? Things like that people ask you all the time. You can create little small webinars about those very things. You can do a how-to. You can break it down, and have great. The thing about webinars versus video, I think, in some respects, is that you can put great charts up. It's a little harder to do that with video. And you could put things up like, you could put flow charts, you can put really high resolution photos showing how your product works. You can make beautiful, beautiful pictures of your plants and put them up there. Care for this variety, what the care is for that variety. You know what I'm saying? Just, you can make how-tos. Again, if you're not a person that's comfortable on video, this is a great venue for doing how-tos. Product usage, those can be little small videos, and maybe for the medicinal side of things. What is this good for? How do you use it? How much do you take? What's the correct dosage for this, that, and the other? Well, you can put it right up there on a webinar. It's a value add for some people. If there's a lot of you I would love to talk about. You have such great expertise in the cannabis business. I would love to talk to you about developing a product, right, that you could sell. Because if you've been in this business for a long time, all these newbies are coming in and they're asking you if you wouldn't mind, having your brain picked about you spent 20 years. Some of you even spent some time maybe not in a good place, maybe in jail, just because you believed in this plant and you wanted to bring it to everyone and you were willing to pay the price. And now these people come up to you and they want free advice. Just like a doctor, right? Oh, my doctor, my shoulder's hurting. It's not a right thing to do, but at the same time, there's this great community spirit in cannabis and this giving back and this reciprocity going on, and you feel bad if you don't. So what if you created a small, inexpensive product that showcases your expertise, and at the same time, it pays for itself? Because instead of them wasting your time, you just direct them. You say, look, I'll give you one piece of advice, but I really can't sit down and talk with you. Here's a link to my product. It costs $39.99. It's well worth the money, blah, blah, blah. And then you send them to your series of webinars that you've created that show them step by step how to do things. And if you're really clever, what you do is you make it look so complex and so convoluted that guess what? They're going to return to you and say, I will pay your $100, $200 an hour fee for you to act as a consultant. So products, if you've got something like that in your mind and you want to develop it, I would love to talk to you. 925-776-4368. Again, 925-776-4368. Webinars can be used on membership sites, and that's something else I was thinking of developing for the cannabis industry. Getting all these great thought leaders in one place and charging a fee every month for people to go on and learn what they want to learn about the business. I think it would be big, and I would like to be the one to do that. Product creation. If you're working on something new and you want to pitch this to an investor maybe, or a potential JV partner, a webinar is a great way to do this without you having to necessarily be there in a room pitching this. So there's so many uses for webinars. I want to talk a little bit about lead generation and webinars. Lead generation seems to be the number one reason people want to do this. So a dispensary, for example, let's look at a dispensary. How would they use a webinar? Well, they would use a webinar to talk about all the things they do differently than the other dispensaries in their area, right? And so they would go through the process of becoming a member at that dispensary, what it involves, what are you getting, when are the good times to visit, what is your experience going to be like, helping the person prepare themselves to come in and buy things from you and buy from your dispensary, right? So you're preparing them, you're teaching them, you're training them how to buy what you have. So this might be, a good opportunity for a dispensary to talk about new things they're doing. Introduce people to personnel. Introduce them to, different varieties of plant, of bud. I'm so old school. A flower that you have. Different varieties of oils and, just all kinds of things. I mean, there's just no limit to the creativity you can have with these things. So again, for dispensary owners and workers who are kind of shy on video, this would provide an alternative to video. But for creating content, which leads to lead generation, you've got to do some research, and then you want to create the content. You want to optimize that content in search, and there's a lot of places you can put this content. You want to publish it. That's what I'm talking about. Publish it to Vimeo, publish it to YouTube, publish it to Facebook, publish it to LinkedIn, wherever you want to put this, to your website, to your blog, whatever. Then you want to promote it, because it's not enough just to publish it and wait for organic views. Now, Sometimes organic views happen, okay? But generally, you're going to have to be promoting it. You're going to have to be telling people, hey, look at this. Here's the link to our new webinar. Okay. And then you want to measure the results. And the measuring the results is pretty easy with the products that GoToWebinar offers. They offer some of the best reporting. That's why I use them. And oh, this was the slide I was looking for a little earlier. So in 1996, some of you might remember Windows Net Meeting and Placeware. And that's kind of where we are today. That led directly to the development of these other webinar services. So what I'm going to do right now is go out and take a look at a couple of things. One I want to take you to is my page, gotostage.com. It's in beta right now, but it's going to be a new service that I'm really excited about for GoToWebinar. So what is this exactly? Well, I've been with GoToWebinar a long time, and it's my go-to platform for doing webinars. I've done like 120 or 30 webinars over the years, and I've always used GoToWebinar. But what's been missing in the past was a way to host your recordings directly on GoToWebinar so that you see here where it says howmatch.com changed annuity. It's had 66 views in the recorded form. So we had 40 people on the webinar and we had 66 people who downloaded the webinar to view. And what's great about it is it automatically captures their name and email for you. So you could go in here and click and see who watched your video. Why is that important? Well, of course, it's important because you want to be able to reach back out to these people and say, hey, you saw my webinar on my dispensary. What did you think? Tell me some ideas you had. What kind of questions did you have? So it creates that warmth that's necessary when you want to follow up. And you do want to follow up because having a webinar and not following up is just plain crazy, right? So see, you can see here it gives you, and I'm going to go really fast through these because I don't want to put everybody's email up there, but you get an idea of what you get. You get their first and last name and their email, so you can reach out to them and say, "What did you think of my webinar?" Right. So in addition to this, though, there's a new beta launch of another product that's going to be part of the GoToWebinar family. I'm assuming it may be a separate product that you can purchase. I don't know. But let's go back to my recordings. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. This is all live and the joy of live. We're going to talk further about how to put together a webinar at some point, or you can just have me do it. I don't care. You see my Go to Stage channel, and it's in the beta phase. When you click that, it's yet another venue for you to post your webinar on. And this is where you want to post it when you intend to offer the replay and you want people to log in. You want to put it on here. If you just want people to see it and you don't care if you capture their data, then you want to put it on YouTube or some other place. So here it is. This is my page, the Go to Stage, and you'll notice you can feature any webinar you want. Usually it's your most recent webinar. Put it right there on the feature page. And then you can put these other webinars in for people to watch. So it's going to be really cool. It's a nice page. You can customize it and so on and so forth. Most of you do use YouTube, so I'll briefly mention that YouTube, next to Google, is the #2 search engine. Yeah. So you do want to have a presence on YouTube. However, if you're concerned because of the nature of the cannabis business and maybe you're kind of worried about authorities coming after you until it's legalized everywhere, then I understand that. You could make this channel private as well and just have it for just people you know and trust, okay? But I want to show you the kind of things you can do with webinars are the same kind of things you can do with video, right? And there's definitely a place to put all this stuff. So let's look at one of my most popular videos ever was actually just something I did at the NCIA a couple of years ago. And it's think you can hear it. And this is just me with a little handheld camera. I mean, this is crazy. And this thing has about 25,000 views or something like that. He's talking. See, Chris doesn't mind being on camera. So, but this could have easily been a little webinar with slides talking about his I guess some sort of aeroponics system that he's got there. But he just looked like an interesting person, so I stopped and asked if I could videotape him. And we videotaped him, and it's really worked out for him. He's he's gotten a couple of sales because of this, and you'll notice it has 20,130 views. I don't think I have any other video that has that many views on it. So that's if you look up Essence Corp, you'll probably see that video and you can watch it. It's kind of interesting. But the point is, there's just a lot of places you can use these webinars. So do you have time to do this? Do you want to learn it all? It took me about 6 months just to learn how to do GoToWebinar by itself. What I'm offering or what I'm suggesting to people is that they use me as a hired hand and allow me to do the webinar for you. So for what I would do for that is I would create the slides, anything you want. If you want to show pictures of your beautiful plants, I'm good with that. We would get together, do a 15-minute consult, and then we would talk about what you're trying to achieve with your webinar, put together a webinar with slides and everything. Have you narrate it if you want to, or me narrate it. I would set it up, time, date, schedule it, and everything. I can't invite people because I don't necessarily have a list of people that would be interested in this. You will have to either provide me with a list, or we just create the webinar and you publicize it the way you want to publicize it. It's up to you. If you want me to do it where there's live guests on, I certainly will be able to do that as well. So you just provide me with the people, and it's a great way if you already have a list. It's a great way to reach out to your list, right, and interact with them. I will post it for you or help you post it on your social media sites and do as much as I can on my end to let people know that it's there, right? And that's what I do. I mean, depending on the level of involvement you want me to have, a webinar like this, and it includes using, by the way, includes using my GoToWebinar page and my GoToShow page. So I will post your webinar on my own pages and on my YouTube, which has been around for a long, long time and gets good traffic. So I will do all that for you, and it will run you anywhere from $7.99 to $1,500, depending on how much I actually do. And I think that's pretty much a bargain, because if you look, just owning GoToWebinar is going to cost you $100, $200. You will have a lot of promotion done on my side, and I will do all the heavy lifting. So you just show up, we practice a little bit, and you do your presentation. So I can make any kind of webinar you want, and I can make it work for you. So if you're interested, please give me a call, and I'm going to get my Calendly. I think I've got my Calendly up here for you. Blah, blah, blah. Nope. 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 I thought I did. So, find me on Facebook, find me on LinkedIn, Tammy DeLu, just like this. And then reach out to me and tell me what you're thinking, and I'll tell you how to schedule a time with me. We'll schedule that 15-minute webinar thing, and I believe that we can create something really great for the industry. I'd love to see the cannabis industry even more mainstream than it's already become. And give me a call if you have more questions. I'm in California, 925-776-4368. Again, 925-776-4368. Thanks a lot, and please look in your inbox for even more future webinars. Take care.